everyone, I'm Frank Hannon. I'm the lead guitarist of Tesla, and I'm very happy to be here today on Riff Lords on Gibson TV. Today I'm going to be talking about all kinds of techniques. I'm going to be talking about both aspects of my guitar playing, both acoustic and electric. I'm going to break down all kinds of songs, and I'm going to specifically talk about our first album, Mechanical Resonance, that came out in 1986. There's a lot of cool riffs on that one, so I hope you enjoy this. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is our first album, Mechanical Resonance. I was pretty young when we started writing that album, and I was very lucky to have the ultimate riff lord, Ronnie Montrose, be a mentor. He gave me guitar lessons, and he produced our first demos of our band. Back in 1982 to 83, he worked with us consistently. And if you don't know Ronnie Montrose, check him out. Check out the first Montrose album. He's definitely a riff lord, and he's a big influence. And the first thing that I played for you was the intro to Cumin Atcha Live, and that song was influenced by Ronnie from a song that he's got called Ready for Some Action. It's a high-paced rock and roll song, and back in the 80s, that's what we tried to do, is play as high energy as possible. In my mind, I was wanting to emulate like a race or something, you know, so I started fooling around with the Floyd Rose tremolo and creating what I imagined to be like horse sounds, like a horse getting ready to run. And so I was creating these horse sounds by taking the whammy bar and depressing it all the way down, like that, and then hitting a harmonic and then shaking it to create a whinny like a horse would do. So like this. What I do is I come out of that and end up on the open A string. And this is where I'm going to describe to you one of my personal techniques, which I call the right hand, the wrist flick. And so when I give guitar lessons, I usually do to get students to loosen up that right hand. That's what I'm doing on this intro, but like doing a lot of upstrokes, like. If you want to start off slow, it's all in that right hand and tapping your foot and feeling that rhythm, even if it's something really fast like what I was just playing. See, and I'm pulling up on it. If I slow it down, it's down, up, down, up. And then I grab the D chord here. That's a Montrose-inspired chord right there. It's a D right there. And I go. So I'll play it slow and then I'll play it fast. The next ending part of that intro, I use some pinch harmonics, and I go down the blues scale like this. And it's utilizing chromatic notes in between the regular pentatonic scale. So this intro chromatic riff goes. And meanwhile, I'm picking it off there and hitting it on my thumb to get that. Which is an old Billy Gibbons trick. So there's one more section I want to talk about in Cumin Atcha Live, and that is called the chromatic riff. The chromatic, for those of you beginner students, chromatic means one fret at a time, which is called half steps. So 2 frets apart is a whole step, 1 fret apart is a half step. And when you put those together, it's called chromatic. And in Coming At You Live, I use a chromatic lick that goes. So really slow, it's. Then I jump up the octave. Here's another riff in there. When it goes up to the C sharp in the solo, that builds up, that's called a bridge, that builds up to the solo. I do a little pattern that goes like this. And I do it an octave higher. So what I want to do is I want to explain how that is working. It's down, up, down, up, down, up on the picking. And then what I did is I figured out the harmony to it. So if you're here, the harmony would be. So Tommy, our other guitar player, played this part. And I played together, and it created this crazy Coming At You Live harmony thing together where we're picking the notes and harmonizing up the scale. Another song on Mechanical Resonance is called Modern Day Cowboy. This was our first single that came out, and I get asked about this riff a lot. Right now I'm going to play it for you, and then I'm going to break it down. That is the intro to Modern Day Cowboy, and a lot of people always ask me about that riff. And what it is actually very simple. It's called a hammer-on, and that's where you pick the first note and then you hammer on the rest of them. And the way this was originally written was by Tommy Skio, our original guitar player. He and I were best friends back in the day, and he was playing the hammer-on like this. And I had written this part, which utilizes an F note. So when he was playing that riff, I said, dude, you should play it with an F in there. And he was like, man, I can't stretch my fingers that far, you play it. So essentially, Tommy gave me the riff. And I hope this makes him happy if he's watching this, because he never got credit for it. And so that's the story of that riff. So now I'm gonna break it down for you. It's really simple. It starts on F, and I pick the first note, and then I hammer on in whole steps, which is what causes that stretch, which was very difficult for Tommy, and which is why he let me play it. So we co-wrote the riff together. I took it from F sharp to F, and it's whole steps, and I hammer it on like this. And then I go to the next string, and then I slide up another whole step on the same string, and then I hit the F again on the D string, which ends up putting me to the high octave of A, which is what the song is in the key of A. Now you may have noticed though that my guitar is tuned down a half step. So really quick, if you're in A, tune your guitar to me, which is a half step down, A flat. Once again, I'm going to play it at full speed. So that's the riff, and when it's really slow, it goes like this. So I'm picking the first note and hammering on the next two notes after that on each section of those blocks there. Now, when we were in the studio, the producer, when we were arranging the song, said, "Man, I like that riff a lot. I think you should double it." So what we did is we made it twice as long in the middle of the song, setting up the choruses. So it goes. Which is twice as long. So it's basically the same shape, but doubled in length. So it goes like this, really slow. And underneath that, the music, the rhythm track is going F, G. So it goes F, G. So when the band plays F, I play the riff in F. And then when the band hits G, I play the riff in G. I'll play it for you one more time, nice and slow. All right, right now I'm going to play you another song off the Mechanical Resonance album. This is one of my favorites because it utilizes some serious rhythm chops and some major and minor chord changes. This song is called Cover Queen, and it goes like this. So that's the riff for Cover Queen. And I'm going to break it down really slow for you. It's a lot of down and up, and it's a rhythm chop. And it goes. So again, I want to emphasize, get your wrist loosened up and flick it and whip it. And, you know, like that Devo song, whip it good. You got to whip it and flick it and get that feel. So again, I'm going to play it fast for you. And now here it is really slow. Down, up, up. So what I'm doing there is I'm going from the bar chord B, and then before the band kicks in, I wanted to create some tension. So I slid up to the B up here and created a minor ninth, which is one of those mean sounding tense chords. So I go from the standard bar chord, and then I move it up to the minor ninth chord. Then I hit the whammy bar. So again. So when I slide up from the B chord, which is basically your standard root, 5, root octave, it doesn't have a minor third in it, which in the key of B, the D note is a minor third. And the third note of the scale, whether it's major or minor, is what gives it the mood. If it's minor, it's usually mean and sad and tense. If it's major, it's usually happy. So when I play B, if I was to play the minor third note, which is that D there, it gives it a dark sound. Now you just go a half step up, all of a sudden it's happy. So the major and the minor is just a half step apart. So when I slide up from here, I've now changed this root note of B to this root note of B, and I'm playing this D note here for the minor third. All right, before we go any further, I'm going to change guitars so I can explain to you the tuning of DADGAD. That's D-A-D-G-A-D. And this is a tuning that we use on our second album, and we used a lot throughout our career in Tesla. Now, my guitars are tuned down a half step because they're set up that way for our live shows. But back in the day, we were in standard tuning, and we would your guitar would be tuned D-A-D-G-A-D, hence the word DADGAD. But anyway, I'm tuned down to C sharp, so if you're following me, you'll want to tune to me. So here's the bottom string. So really quick, the way you do this is you play the D string like this, and you take your top string and match it. To create what we call a drop D tuning. So to take that further, what we do is the second string, which is the B, is actually tuned to A. So what you can do is play your A string and then play the A note. And then, again, the open D and the bottom. And the reason we use this tuning is because it is excellent to create open strings that just drone really nice, like this. There's nothing like it. You can take your one finger and put it on the G string, and you can slide it around. Get that real nice open DADGAD sound. So we use this tuning a lot with Tesla, and on one song in particular, it's called Heaven's Trail, No Way Out. And I'm going to play it for you at full speed, and then I'll break it down. So the song starts off like this. Again, there's that half step, flat, weird, pulling up technique. But now in a DADGAD tuning, and it just sounds killer. So again, I'm taking my first finger and I'm putting it on the A flat, which gives it that weird dissonant sound, and I'm pulling up on all the strings open. Okay, and now this song is another great example of our original guitarist Tommy Skeoch, his rhythm chop. This is one of his riffs, and it's a killer riff, and it's all about the rhythm. I'm going to play it for you at full speed. Now this is an excellent rhythm guitar chop, and rhythm guitar is as important as playing licks or riffs and solos, probably even more important. So I really recommend that you practice your rhythm chops in that right hand. And I'm going to break this down really slow for you. This is Heaven's Trail, really slow. And this just utilizes one finger. It can be whichever finger feels the best for you. It could be your middle finger, it could be your index finger, but it's really important to grind it and again, tap your foot and feel the beat. So it's open, second fret, open, third fret, open, and then from the third fret, kind of slurring it. up to the 5th fret. And it creates a real grinding, kind of driving rhythm. And then you go blah on those bottom strings of DADGAD. So one more time, I'm going to play it really slow, and then I'm going to take it up to normal speed for you. Right now, I'm going to switch over to my other aspect of playing, which is acoustic guitar. This is my Love Dove acoustic that Gibson made for me last year, and I'd like to stay on the subject of DADGAD tuning. On our first album, Mechanical Resonance, there's a song called Little Suzi, and I wanted to add an acoustic intro in this tuning to the song. And I was hearing this melody in my head that went, dun, 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 dun. A lot of times you can hear a song or a melody in your mind and you want to translate it to guitar. And I discovered it went. It's like, okay, well, there's the melody. So once I figured out how to play that melody that I was hearing in my head, which is open G string, then the F sharp on the D, and then open G string again. I wanted to play that melody over something that would have a real nice, interesting, droning feel of the DADGAD tuning. So I was thinking, how am I going to do this? So I had to figure out, I had to put my pinky on this 5th fret right there to create that tuning. So I'm going to play it for you at full speed. This is the intro to Little Suzi. It goes like this. That's the main phrase of it. So I'm going to play it for you really slow. It's a D chord with a pinky on the 5th fret. And then that melody. So I'm using my index finger and my ring finger to create the melody, along with the open strings. And then the thumb bass, I'm utilizing what's called, I think it's called a Merle Travis style picking. I'm not sure, but it goes like this. So anyway, real slow. So I'm simultaneously picking with my thumb and my index finger on the A string and the G string to create that melody. Like that. And then hitting with my 2 fingers on the bottom strings to create that bell effect that DADGAD is so good for. So again, now here's the tricky part. Because I'm tuned down to DADGAD, I can't play a bar chord. I have to modify this finger to play this note to get the proper note for the bar chord. Normally it'd be a bar chord position, but because the guitar is tuned weird, you have to move it and create a new way of playing the same chord. So that's kind of an unusual shape right there. And then I slide it up So from the G, A. Normally it would be a G and an A like this, but because the guitar is tuned down, you have to change it to that. So again, I'll play it nice and slow. Here's the weird chord. And then, last but not least, at the very end of it, I do a harmonic like this. Let me try that in real time. All right, the next song I want to talk about is one of my riffs that I get asked about a lot, and a lot of the fans will post videos of themselves playing it, and I'm very honored and flattered that they do that. And so I really want to show you the right way to play it because it utilizes open strings, and it's in the key of G, and it's a song called What You Give, and it's one of Tesla's songs, one of Tesla's classic songs that I wrote at a time where I was really kind of just depressed, and it was like 3 in the morning and there was infomercials on, and I was just sitting on the couch and I was just sitting there kind of not even thinking about much, but just picking some G notes, and I just kind of accidentally went like this. And I was like, oh, I kind of like that. So when you're a songwriter, that's what you got to do. You got to kind of just get yourself in a zone and just kind of not think about it too much, and then you'll stumble on something that you like. And then you just kind of build it from there. So what I did is I built it from there, and here's how the riff goes. All right, so what it is, I'll break it down really slow for you. It's an open G, and I pick the G note here, and then I do the hammer-on from the open D to the E note on the 2nd fret, and then play a nice big open G string. So there's a lot of open strings there. So there's this note, open, hammer on, open. So like this. Which creates what I like to call a phrase. Phrasing is another thing I want to talk about here on Riff Lords that I want to get into here in a minute with the next song we're going to do. But anyway, this is a phrase right here. And then I expanded on it. I repeat that phrase. And then I created another phrase which goes from the B flat and slides down like this. So the phrases are all centered around the open G string. It all revolves around that open string. So G, open, and then this time I'm going to hit an F note. So let me play it in real time for you. So as you see, this phrase right here That's the core of the riff. It's a phrase, and I'm changing the bass note from G to F to E. Meanwhile, I'm repeating a phrase. So again, here's the first part of the riff. Now here's where it gets tricky. This is where I use the open strings, and I do that technique I showed you earlier of pulling up on the pick. So I'm going to slide from the A here to the B and create this little two-note chord right here. And then I'm going to pull up for the bottom open string to create that open feel. So like this. So again, it's the open strings, sliding down, open string again, open string again. So it's another phrase. So this riff is comprised of phrases based on G and based around the open G string. So again, I'm going to play it in normal time so you can remember how the riff goes. And now I'm going to play it for you one more time, nice and slow. Again, it's phrases that revolve around the open string and the bass note changing from G to F to E to F. And when I go to E, I play this open string thing like that. So here it is, really slow for you. Pulling up. Hitting the F note. And then repeating the phrase. Okay, so there you have it. That's What You Give by Tesla. And here it is one more time, What You Give at full speed. All right, so now I want to talk about Love Song, which is the inspiration for the Love Dove acoustic guitar. I'm sure you guys have seen me and heard me play that intro a million times. So I want to move past that, and I want to explain to you some of the stuff that's going on in the verses that are kind of unique and special to me that I stumbled on by accident. The intro riff of the song, when it first starts, coming out of the intro, and it goes into this. That part right there is actually a little different than I've seen some fans play it. A lot of fans that I've seen learn the song, they throw in too many notes. They play that. They think I'm playing that full version, but actually I'm only playing just the two strings by themselves, which is, so we're in the key of D, and you slide up the D. What's really cool about the D shape is you can slide it around, and it sounds good. So what I did is I slid it up to here, and then I play these notes just by themselves. I don't add the third note, I just play just the two by themselves. And that leaves out the seventh note, which would not sound good. So again, really simply, it gives it more of a delicate kind of feel when you're only playing just the two notes by themselves. So again, the trick is to make it sound real delicate. You don't play the full chord, you just play the two bottom strings by themselves. Okay, so from there, it goes into a E minor. And again, I utilize my pulling up trick. So it goes like this. And so right there is another example of what I was talking about earlier, the 1 fret difference between major and minor. In this song, it goes from major, which is a happy sound, to minor, which is a sad sound. So there's the minor chords, E minor, B minor, and then it goes to A major for a second, which is kind of hopeful, but I didn't want to stay hopeful very long. I wanted to get sad again. So it goes from happy to sad, which was kind of how I was feeling it when I wrote it. I was going through a tough time, and those chords just kind of came out by accident. I was stumbling between major to minor to major to minor. And what's different about that is normally when you're playing a song or writing a song, you don't play the same chord, major and minor, back to back. That's usually something you don't do. So this is kind of breaking the rules a little bit, but to me it's what makes this song and this verse part special, is it goes from something that you wouldn't normally do in a song. So again, I'll play it for you at full speed with the major and the minor changes, and then I'll slow it down for you. Hey, well, thank you very much for tuning in to Riff Lords and putting up with all my craziness. We had a great time here at the studio. This is a legendary place that we're at in Sound City in LA. I want to say that music has been a saving grace for me as a kid. You know, when I discovered guitar, I was 10 years old, and I just became infatuated with it and learning by listening to records over and over again and just practicing. And it was a great escape. You know, it took me out of the hood and kept me home and not getting in trouble. It was a positive thing. And so I want to encourage you, if you feel frustrated, don't give up. It just gets easier and easier. And, you know, a word of advice that someone gave to me when I was a kid, actually, they gave it to me when Van Halen 1 came out and Eruption. None of us had ever heard anything like that. And I knew a guy that could play it. And I asked him, man, show me how to do that. And he goes, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go home and just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I want you to just hold the guitar and don't even look at the guitar. Just hold it. Sit on the couch with it. You know, lay in bed with it. Whatever, just walk around the house. You don't even have to try to practice. Don't make practice into a regimen where it's something that's a stressful thing. You know, you can benefit a lot just by holding your guitar and watching TV and just get comfortable with that. So I want to encourage you to practice like that, just real natural, and just loosen up and have a good time with it. And I'm Frank Hannon from Tesla, and this has been Riff Lords on Gibson TV.